Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the threeohtake, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the threeohtake presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 477. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin. I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate. I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I'm not taking that trombone nonsense. We finally got a shot of life in this series, and you're going to start us off with the trombone?
I am. I'm hurting. Do you care about your friend that's hurting?
Not if that friend's a Yankee fan. I hate to say it. What a time, man. Like I said, we finally get a shot of life into this series, and I understand it's at the expense of your Yankees, but I mean, you got to admit that was a baseball game. That was a baseball game. And I know that that was a baseball game because even though it didn't go the way you obviously wanted it to go, I know you were feeling something when everything that happened in that game happened. Like, that was quite a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah. I felt the good and the bad. I felt all of it.
Which tells you all you need to know.
Which is a good game.
That is a good game.
I won't disagree there. But
do you want to delay? Well, let me ask you this, because the blessed Mets Dodgers series has turned into such a snooze fest that we didn't even wait to the official end of the game to start this episode.
It's true.
So how do you want to go about this? Do you want to start Mets Dodgers?
Yeah, let's get this.
You want to delay the inevitable?
Yeah, let's get this nonsense done here.
So you want to push off the pain till later in the episode?
I do. Because I'm in a good mood and I don't want to ruin that. It took me a while to get to this good mood. So
that's fair.
You know what I mean? A few hours and some food.
All right, let's talk Mets Dodgers. Sorry, I had to push the broadcast to Instagram. Why even bother at this point? I mean, talk about a story. And yes, for the record, I'm writing the Mets off. There's no hope.
Yeah,
there's
done.
No hope. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
Talk about a narrative that flipped on its head seemingly overnight. And I know it's only been since Monday since we talked last, but I feel like even then you're feeling like, all right, Mets magic is still alive. But 2-3 days later, see ya.
Yeah, I think this is what, like, some of the fears that I had. I mentioned, I don't know if it was before this series or maybe the last series with the Phillies. It was their Mets pitching starting at some point. It's going to relate to the back of their baseball card. And as awesome as a story that, Manaea and Severino have been, and even, like Kodai Senga coming back and like rushing to get back, and like those are good stories, and they've had good performances and have done exciting things. But they're going to regress to the mean at some point. And the offensive side of things, like, you can only come back. I said this, you can only come back so many times. You can't come back every game. And I know that before the series, none of us saw Dodger pitching doing what they're doing. None of us predicted this. But either way, you knew that offense was going to be there. We know this offensive production from the Dodgers side. So it's tough, man. It's tough. It's hard to I throw Quintana into that mix as well, but it's hard to rely on. Let's face it, fifth starters for most rotations. Like, I know a team gets hot and anything can happen. I know that they've been one foot in the grave multiple times in this postseason, and the offense has been the one that's kind of bailed them out and given them a chance to get back into it.
Literally, yeah.
But like, those are five starters. Those are back of the rotation starters. For majority of teams, these guys are potentially not even. I can, like, if we're looking across the way in the other league and looking at like other teams comparison, like I see Nestor, I see Marcus Stroman, I see guys that aren't even getting starts right now.
It's a valid point.
As that comp. And it's on their shoulders to keep the Mets in it. And eventually it's running dry, man. And I was sitting there, I think it was the 6th inning when they started to make a little push. It was like 7-2 tonight. And bases loaded, 2 outs. Winker takes it to the track and right. And I thought it was out off the bat. And it just felt like that was the moment of their season. It felt like it's all done. Like, if that's not going out, and it's a 7-6 ball game, and that place is going to erupt. And all of a sudden it's, you steal this game and now it's at 2-2 in the series. Like, that changes everything. And it just came up a little short. And I think it's like the perfect metaphor and micro, like in that moment, it's like a microcosm of all of these things kind of just fizzling out in a way. Is it weird to say?
No, I'm with you. And no, the reason I'm making these facial expressions is I'm like, isn't it kind of ironic? I mean, I'm not gonna kick the guy when the team pretty much signed their own death warrant tonight, but isn't it kind of ironic that Jesse Winker was the guy behind it all? Like,
yeah,
this seemed to be the guy that gave them the jolt when they needed it from time. I mean, he wasn't the catalyst of this postseason run, but like he played he certainly played a big role.
Big moments.
And the fact that he's the one that, and I really can't disagree with you. Like that kind of, it felt like that when you see that ball's not making it out, you're going, that's it. This was their only shot. Because you just know the offense is going to continue to pour on, which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And by the 7th, Citi Field is down to
half gone,
20% capacity.
Yeah.
And that kind of tells you the story you need to know of this series, because I mean, this has just been a absolute beatdown.
Yeah.
On behalf of the Dodgers.
It's been thorough. Like, it, on all fronts, it's been thorough. We knew this offense was going to be there. We knew this lineup is capable. Like, you're going to get struck by one of these MVPs a couple times in a game. It's just going to happen. And tonight was Mookie's night. Ohtani is Ohtani. He's been doing what Ohtani does.
Ohtani's 50 for his last 20 with runners on base.
Yeah, it's
Mookie Betts is hitting 350 this series. Which, I mean,
Muncy has looked good.
Muncy has he's gotten on base in 12. I think it just
ended. It just ended in his last at bat.
His last at bat. Okay, last I saw it was 12.
The 8,000 fans that were in City were kind of gave like a sarcastic cheer, but.
I mean, a postseason record. You've got Muncy doing that. You've got Mookie, who, like we talked about, did not show up in the postseason like at any real point in his career. And you've got him showing up, like we said, Shohei's doing what he's doing. Once you've got those pieces in place, and you just get half decent pitching,
and that's
fine.
The thing. Yamamoto looked good. Tons of punch outs tonight. bullpen we know has been the story all series. But I was like, even these last couple innings, I'm looking back and I know it's a blowout, but like you see these defensive substitutions close to the end of the game for whatever team's leading most of the time in the postseason. And you look at like, okay, Kevin Kiermaier is arguably one of the best center fielders of this generation. Chris Taylor stepping in, Pages is stepping in. Like they're very complete in how they can tighten up, tack on. Like there's not a lot of holes right now. And that's scary. That's real scary. I'm terrified. If the Yankees can make it to the World Series, I'm terrified. If Cleveland, if you're a fan of the Guardians and you feel like you got a chance to make it, I would be shaking in my boots too. Like this, when all things are clicking, this is what they spent their money on. This is what they're invested in. And as much as some fans can hate the Dodgers, it's like there's got to be a respect for these names. They're going to do what they do. And right now, all of them are seemingly doing it at the same time. Like the Mets just don't have a chance.
Hand up. I laughed at that. It literally, go back and listen. I pretty much signed off last episode laughing at the notion that the Dodgers could go up 2-1 coming back to or coming to Citi Field with Walker Buehler on the mound. And what does Walker Buehler go out and do?
Shoved.
6 punch outs over 4 innings.
Shoved. And
Scoreless
look,
ball.
like we gotta redefine what Studley starting pitching looks like nowadays. But that was every bit of what you would want out of a Walker Buehler who struggled for, I don't know, years at this point. So Dodger fans, you got to be real happy right now. Real happy. I think the only slight thing they could be bummed about is not getting to see their team celebrate at home because this thing's done.
This thing is not going back to LA. We know that much. Yeah, I mean, you talk about the game that Buehler started. That was their 4th shutout as a staff in the previous 5 games.
Yeah. And then Yamamoto tonight, 2? Oh, darn.
Gave up 2, had 8 punch outs.
Yeah.
The reality of it is the Dodgers right now are making people look stupid, us included. Because, and I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but you mentioned it. They were able to button themselves up. There was holes that you could have identified coming into this postseason as reasons as to why they wouldn't even make it out of the NLDS. They make it out of the NLDS. Okay, you say, okay, well, they're going up, and which is kind of the narrative or the angle I took. Awesome, you came out and to your point, you said they came out of the NLDS beaten and bloodied by the Padres.
Yeah.
So you take that, you combine it with the fact that the Mets are just seemingly you fill in the blank of the team of destiny at this point. Some thought it maybe was the Tigers that died off fairly quickly. You plug the Mets into that, the Dodgers are like, that's cute, but need we remind you that we're the Dodgers and they're the Mets?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, man. And like I said, I think the Mets had a fun story, and it's fun to be able to look back, over the last few years and kind of find some type of comp that, the team of destiny, you kept mentioning that, like, sometimes it just defies, what it looks like on paper. But like I'm when you say it out loud and you hear some of these names of big moments that you're relying on, Jesse Winker, Jeff McNeil trying to come back and pinch hit, Severino, Quintana. Like,
For the record, though, if this is it, not to cut you off, but if this is it for Severino's 2024 season,
job well done.
He finished it off. No, I mean, I think he gave up 2 runs, but 0 earned.
I get that. And job well done. Like he did pitch well. My issue is that, like, for a World Series winning team, these aren't the names you should be mentioning. These aren't the names that you should be relying on. And this is just kind of all they got, man. They're riding high on some crazy vibes and big moments, and it's worked. But again, like, they're eventually going to regress to what the back of their baseball card says. And you're starting to see that a little bit. I do feel for Nimmo, by the way. Brandon Nimmo's toughing it. You can see him sluggishly trying to get around the bags. Like, he's hurting.
I was thinking that same thing too. Not just Nimmo. There's a handful of guys that are still alive in this postseason that are. I mean, Rizzo's a guy. Freeman. I know Freeman didn't get the start tonight,
Rizzo.
but I mean, he's been.
Mention McNeil, like, rushing back. You know, Senga rushing back.
I mean, you gotta tip your cap to a handful of these
Some
guys.
toughness.
I mean, yeah. When you could easily take the out and be like,
yeah,
my team has done fine without me thus far. Like, no, I want to contribute. I want to partake in, like, these games that are before me and do what I can to make an impact, make a difference in the game. And what I mean, not to jump ahead here, but Rizzo's, what was it, his first debut back or something the other night, or he got the start. It was like a RBI single.
Yeah, laced the line drive up the middle. Yeah, it's very cool to see. It's just, you know, like I said, it's there. I think they've just kind of run out of magic, man. And it doesn't help that you've run into a well-oiled machine at the moment in the LA Dodgers.
Which, again, that, and kind of to put a bow on this, that's the takeaway here, is that it should come as no surprise if you look at how this team was built on paper, that this team is a buzzsaw at this point in the year. I just 100%. I just didn't think it was actually going to come to fruition the way that it has. And that's hand up moment. I said, and I still don't think I'd call it a cakewalk to the World Series. But I mean, you revisit my take from back in March, and I'm like, this is not going to be a cakewalk for this team. And there's a lot of things you got to take into account there. And I think you could still say that it's been an uphill climb for this team to get to the World Series, assuming that they get to that point. But, you know,
I'd hate to say it, but it felt like, and I know it's 5 versus 7 games, but like it felt like the DS between the Dodgers and the Padres was like the real NLCS. You know, it felt like that was like the heavyweight matchup. I on a separate note, and we'll get into this at some point, I think when this, you know, when the postseason's over and the trophy's been hoisted, but I think baseball needs to consider some type of restructuring to the playoff format and the way things are lined up. It's just, there's certain things that just, I don't know. Like I'd like to see it a little bit differently, but overall, what can you do? What can you do when 2 MVPs are going nuts and the third MVP is just toughing it out for the whole world to see, you know?
Well, he's not an MVP, but what can you do when Jhonkensy Noel steps to the plate? Am I right? Am I right? I mean, you had to know deep in your bones that was happening. I don't care.
There were two things that I said out loud during this game. Two things that I said out loud. One, I hated the layover of Weaver going back out for the ninth. I hated that. And I hated the way Holmes's AB with David Fry felt. Those were the two things that I said to myself out loud. I was watching in the shower before dinner. I had my phone on the outside of the glass, and I'm like wiping the freaking fog off of.
I've been there. I've been there.
The steam off of the window so I can look at the phone. I'm like, got it all the way up, and I'm like still loud in the shower. But
you got to set it on a ledge. That's a rookie move. You got to set it on like a ledge or like a shampoo holder or like a rack or something.
I can get it in the rack.
In the shower.
Yeah, I know. I should probably. We do have like a little shelf. Maybe I'll do that next time. But you know, those were the two things that I said out loud. You know, was just like I didn't like the layover. And look, I'm not going to sit here and be that fan that completely takes away from Jhonkensy Noel's moment. Like that crazy moment. Stephen Vogt has been pressing pinch hit buttons all series, just over and over and over, and it's been coming up dry until this point. I'm not mad at Luke Weaver. I'm not mad at Clay Holmes. I'm mad about multiple things with this game, but Aaron Boone's decision to continuously make him come out for 4 and 5 out saves over and over and over. If you're going to use Clay, use him in the 8th. Bring him out. And I know you get weird and nervous when somebody's on base. Yeah, I know you get a little crazy, but with Austin Wells back there, I feel better movement-wise for him than Trevino. Bring Clay Holmes in for the 8th. Let him shut that down. He's looked great. Let him shut that down and let Weaver have a true clean 9th. But the top 9 lasted a little bit. It was a little bit of an extended inning.
Yeah.
It's not warm in Cleveland. So for Luke Weaver to get hot on short notice because of that back-to-back home run, which we got robbed of. Judge, I told you was coming. And to do it off of Class A, the way he did, big boy status, like that's huge.
What's going on with Class A?
Class A don't look right. But that's what I'm saying is that like Boone pressing that over and over again, my biggest takeaways and what pisses me off the most and what I was fearful of the most was that this is how the Yankees have lost their games throughout the entire year. If you've watched them at all, this is how they've lost. Questionable defense, specifically from the infield, and big base running blunders. Huge base running blunders. Costly. This is how they lose. And back-end bullpen. Now, it's been nails so far up until this point. But those are the 3 things that make the cocktail of a Yankees loss. And we saw all of it today. It's a bad game. It was a bad game.
And here's how it sounded in Spanish.
Se puso la Navidad y no ha nevado todavía. Lo que cayó fue la explosión que le dije a ustedes si se empataba Nate Thomas, algo iba a pasar. La puso chiquitita. Jhonkensy Noel. Los Santos empate este partido. Le dije a ustedes que esto no se ha acabado. Todavía hay una gran oportunidad. ¿Qué clase de palo, mi gente?
Electric moment. You got to give credit where credit's due. You got to give credit where credit's due. That changeup backed up, down and in, and incredible moment, incredible bat flip. And I'm nervous, to be honest. The David Fry thing, I kind of saw once I saw Clay Holmes coming out in the 10th. I was like, this is too close to a save opportunity. This isn't going to get to the 11th, unfortunately. But again, like, you know, Stephen Vogt's been pressing these buttons. And it's been strange to see because it has not worked until this. It's been very strange to see, but for Jhonkensy Noel, man, that guy's got it reminds me so much of like prime Puig. I see so much in like a very quick hands, strong, can absolutely obliterate a baseball in the inner half. That's what it feels like from him. And yeah, just not good, man. Not good. Other stuff with the Yanks.
You know,
I mean, I told you that Rizzo looked old and cold coming in to sub in at first. That was brutal. And then a couple mistakes on the bases that just were a little strange. And a lot of these things can, like, the Yankees have gotten here because of the big boppers and the big, there's our guy, Ryan Ripp. A lot of those things can be covered up by the big bops, you know, by the big men and big performances by your core. But like, these moments still show up and it's still ugly.
Sorry, did you say big bop?
Big bop. Big. Again?
¡Feliz Navidad! ¡Feliz Navidad! Jhonkensy Noel!
I mean, you know something special is going on when you've got your Spanish broadcaster singing Christmas songs at the top of his lungs.
Dope. It's dope. I can't hate on it. I really can't. I don't even dislike the Guardians, to be honest. Josh Naylor is the only one that bugs me. There's no one else on. Like, they're a likable squad. Stephen Vogt's a likable manager. Like, it's the tough thing is that, like, again, I've seen how this team loses. I've also seen it come in consecutive, like a streak almost, in a way that their bad baseball can kind of just show up and be there for us. You know, it's like a fart that just lingers. That's what that.
And you got to wonder, like, was that more than a fart? Like, is this,
yeah.
Do I need to be worried here?
It's still here.
All right. Well,
it hasn't passed.
Well, let me ask you this: can you really classify Game 3 as bad baseball? Let me rephrase. How much of this are you putting on the Yankees losing it versus the Guardians just having a couple massive moments that, if your team is going to do anything in the postseason, regardless what team it is, you're going to have some of these moments throughout, which they've had a couple scattered throughout, but
yeah,
I think they were due for a big moment like this.
Yeah.
I mean, how much are you giving credit to one versus the other?
I'm giving more credit to the Guards because, like, Game 1 and Game 2 didn't even feel like the Guardians. Because we talked about, like, back when they were playing the Tigers, like, the Guardians play tight baseball. Good defense, good base running, good pitching, and every once in a while bats are going to show up, but it's not going to be this explosion. And Game 1 and Game 2 was like, there was nothing. It seemed like I don't know if they were nervous, but like really questionable defense, really bad defense, a lot of walks. And it just didn't quite give me Cleveland Guardian baseball vibes. This was Cleveland Guardian baseball. This was a lot better, much better. And I am nervous. I mean, I'm nervous that they still have 2 more games at home. I'm nervous that I've watched series leads get blown, and it doesn't matter. How much of a lead you got. It's tough, man. I'm worried about momentum. I'm worried about a few different things for sure. So we shall see. We shall see. I don't know. What's the matchup tomorrow? I gotta look. Oh my! Shut up!
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, so we got Luisio Gavin Williams lining up for tomorrow. Luisio getting his first start of the postseason. I think if the Yanks can steal one in Cleveland, I think it's got to be this one. It's got to be this one.
Well, I mean, they're up 2-1 in the series. I mean, they all but had this one in the bags. So they could have been looking at a 3-0 lead in this series.
I would have felt really good about that. I was starting to feel really good about that.
I mean, the track record of Major League Baseball, you should feel pretty good about a 3-0 lead. Well, maybe not you as a Yankee fan in particular, but generally speaking,
that's what I was saying. I've seen these blown before.
Generally speaking, you should feel good about a 3-0 lead. But with that said, we are now we're staring down the barrel, and it doesn't come off the tongue as easily, having seen what we just saw from Cleveland. But assuming everybody wakes up tomorrow, assuming the Yankees can kind of flush this and hit the reset button, mathematically, we're staring down the barrel of a Yankees-Dodgers World Series.
Yeah.
What are our thoughts there? And by no means am I chalking in the Yankees to the World Series. Dodgers, yes.
Yeah.
But given they have the lead with just a handful of games left, like I said, mathematically, we're staring down the barrel of a Dodgers-Yankees World Series. How do we feel about that? And by me asking this, I am, in case you're wondering, trying to get into your head a little bit about like, ooh, let me get ahead of myself here and think about the Yanks in the World Series. Only hopefully for the rug to be ripped out from underneath you. But
you'd really root for the Dodgers, huh? You'd really do that. That's fair. I'm not saying
those two teams.
I'm not saying root for the Yanks. I'm just saying maybe you would appreciate your friend getting one for the first time.
I absolutely would not. Why? Who do you think I am?
Whatever.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I was thinking about it a lot more in the 7th inning of tonight, and I was thinking of that possibility a lot more. Now I gotta, pump the brakes just a little bit. I full honesty here, I'm pretty nervous. I think the only thing I can somewhat hope for is whatever kind of layoff the Dodgers have if they do finish out the series tomorrow. If there is a 4 or 5 day layover, that's all I can hope for, is that there's some kind of cooling off that happens. Other than that, like I think they're the best team of the 4. I think they're the deepest, and I haven't seen the Yankees deal with that type of offense yet in this postseason. They haven't had to deal with that yet. So
let's talk about a cakewalk.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know, man.
I cannot stress this enough.
I know.
I have faith in the guards after tonight. A little bit of faith, not a whole lot, but
I think it injects a lot. And again, like there's a couple things. It still being in Cleveland is a big deal. Like that
huge.
matters. To have 2 more in Cleveland
And they talk all the time. You hear it all the time on these broadcasts. You see the numbers floating around when you're reading your articles or reading your tweets. Game 3 is a very pivotal game in a best of 7 series. And you not only go out as the Guardians, you not only go out and win the game, you do it in the fashion that you did. Yeah. That's big.
And there's just something about the Cleveland Guardians that's like, your best player doesn't get the recognition league-wide that he deserves. And it's like a roster. It's like an island of misfit toys, dude. Like, they're all really good, and they're all underrated, and no one talks about any of them, and they're overlooked. The entire roster is underappreciated. Everybody.
Aaron Boone said he didn't want you to do that.
Oh, I know.
He doesn't want you to talk about how Jose Ramirez is underrated. Which,
I don't
by the
think
way,
he's
was
underrated.
That
I think he's underappreciated.
Fair. Was that comment just like a kiss of death for Jose Ramirez this series? I mean, I know he had a bop in game 2, but he's hitting 5 points higher than Judge, who we know has been not as great this postseason. Sans a couple bombs, but Jose Ramirez is hitting $179 this postseason.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is that like he hasn't even clicked yet, and if he starts clicking, this lineup gets a little scarier. But what I'm saying is that like their backs against the wall. It feels like this is the perfect roster to have their backs against the wall. It feels like all of them are underappreciated. All of them are overlooked. It's just that's the kind of roster it is, including their manager. So it's like it just seems like I'm not surprised if they take the game tomorrow. I'm not surprised if this momentum carries over.
Glad you said that. Let's wrap it up there. Give me your predictions on how these two series. I don't want maybe finish out over the next few days or a couple days.
I'm sticking to my Yankees in 6. I said that before, so it's still in play. I'm just gonna ride that out. Hopefully, if it goes to 7, I'm really nervous, but I wouldn't mind seeing it back in New York. I think that'd be pretty cool. Mets are cooked. That's over tomorrow. Concur?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how many games, I don't know. I think the Yankees still find a way to do it, and then obviously, already talked about it. Mets are absolutely fried.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about what's that imagery about a star falling from the? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
What's the phrase? Come on. What is the phrase?
So what are you typing in? Star falling? Phrase that says star falling?
Basically, it's like that classic phrase.
It's probably not even that good at this point.
A star falling from the sky that burns up. That's not what I'm looking for.
No.
If you're listening, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It burns out quick, something to that effect. That's basically what the Mets are at this stage. They
am I crazy that Lindor wore his pants down tonight?
Yeah, and I liked it
for the first time in a while.
I made note of that. I made a little mental note. I was like, you know what? I like
pants down. Lindor looks great.
Hold on. Yeah, pause.
That's what you wanted to say.
That's what I was about to say. But you just rolled on through with it. I held myself.
Pants down, Lindor.
That's a good Nate out of context clip. Pants down, Lindor looks real good.
Yeah. Mets are cooked. What are those probables real fast before we go?
Flaherty and David Peterson.
David Peterson was announced?
Yeah. As probables. So
everybody's cleated up for them tomorrow.
What's probable?
The whole pitching staff's got cleats on tomorrow.
I tell you what, I'm gonna miss the multiple games in a day thing. When you're getting 4 games in a day to start things off in the
great.
postseason, you get to the World Series and you're like, this sucks.
Has this flown by? Is it just me?
Yeah.
It's flown by.
Yeah.
Like real fast.
I don't even who was in the wild cards. Like who matched up in those games? I don't even remember. I was at one of them, Royals and O's. That felt like last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's wild, man. I think we're just old. That's a problem too.
Unbelievable.
Se puso la Navidad y no ha nevado todavía. Lo que cayó fue la explosión que le dije a ustedes si se envasaba Nate Thomas, algo iba a pasar. La puso chiquitita.
Anyway, let's get out of here. Good catching up on these last few games. You guys will hear from us. What's our next pod in order?
I think it depends.
I think we're
stay on Monday?
We're lined up for Monday to recap potential games 5 through 7, whichever of those are necessary. But
could be Sunday, I think.
That
right?
could change. Yeah, that's
Sunday.
Sunday's very, very much in play. But yeah, all right, sounds good.
Sweet.
We'll talk to you guys in a few days and
rate, review, subscribe, comment,
Yup.
hang out with us. If you're going to any games, throw them up on the story, tag us, watch us on YouTube.
We're on that point. We are rapidly approaching, if we're not already there, the point of not being able to buy tickets, dude. Have you seen some of these? I mean, as we're getting closer to the World Series and including potential World Series tickets, have you seen the prices on some of these things?
It's getting worse, huh?
It's just, I mean, who comes up with this stuff, man?
I don't know. But SeatGeek could come in pretty clutch.
I tell you what,
at that total.
I tell you what, you use promo code threeohtake, THREEOHTAKE. Tell you what, you could pocket $20 off of those.
That's a
$890 tickets.
Yeah. Woof. Yeah, I'm not paying that.
Insane.
Just gonna scream at my TV at home.
That's all I got.
Don't go chasing curveballs.
We love you all. We're looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.